I think a lot of people will question listening to us going, well, how does mindfulness or meditation actually help burnout? Or how does it help stress? So that's one thing. And I mean, there's tons of science on that, but I think there's still, so I want you to answer that. And the second thing is, well, how does this affect my productivity? Right? Like, how does it actually get people to do the work that I need them to do?
Sure.
And isn't this just a distraction or slows them down? Because I know a lot of organizations just feel like this sounds good in theory, but how does it help? So if we could
Yeah.
talk about how mindfulness and
Yeah.
meditation, specifically the programs that exist on Calm, how do they make sense for stress and burnout? And then how do they make sense for productivity and performance?
Yeah. I mean, I think I have both of those. I'll start with the second one first because
Yeah.
it comes up a lot. And what I often tell people is when I'll just use Calm as an example, more than half the people that use Calm today come to us for sleep. And they're having moments where they just can't fall asleep. Most of that comes, as we know, because they're sleeping next to their devices. The devices are constantly beeping. They don't shut them off. I talk about like, it's hard, but I keep my phone outside my bedroom. Not everyone does that. When I travel, I don't do that. And sometimes it leads to, not a good sleep. And we know when you have a number of those days that start to compound, it could lead to irritability. It could lead to not being as productive the next day when you go to work because you're just tired, right? You couple that at times with potentially bad eating habits or some people drinking habits or other types of habits that aren't, and that doesn't create, and it creates kind of like what I call negative behavior. I had that when I was younger because I didn't understand some of these tools. And I just wish I had some of these tools when I was younger because I didn't do those things that created positive behavior change. When I was in banking, for example, and when I got stressed, I turned to smoking. And I was just a kid, and I was like smoking in the stairwell of Solomon Brothers. I shouldn't have been smoking in the stairwell. That's number one. I talked about this with our employees saying, hey, I didn't have apps like Calm or tools to help me in the moment. I wish I did. I probably would have turned to other things and understood that's positive behavior that I could turn to, not negative behavior. And if I have enough of that, then it starts to kind of change the pendulum because I then ended up on a very slippery slope. You're smoking, you start to drink a little bit more, then I'm eating more at odd hours, and then I try to go to sleep. And you just know if you're trying to eat Chinese food at 11:30 and you want to go to bed at 12 or 12:30, you're not going to sleep well because there's just a lot of stuff just sitting there, right? Keeping you awake.